Story 1. Emetophobia, fear of throwing up. I can barely type that out without it making me feel ill. Consumes me daily. As a result, I am also afraid to get pregnant, have kids, drink too much, and so on. Story 2. Trypanophobia, the fear of needles. I actually have medical PTSD from when I was 11, and after getting my tonsils out, I had to go back to the emergency room and had multiple nurses trying desperately and, frankly, angrily to find a vein. I never liked needles before. I remember every injection hurting even as a kid. But after that night, it was a nightmare. A very painful, terrifying experience. I am slowly working on it in therapy because, frankly, I am deeply overdue for blood work. I can now take my mother to get blood work without hyperventilating in the waiting room, and that is a big accomplishment. Last time I tried myself, I passed out and wet myself. Woke up to juice boxes everywhere. Story 3. Fursuits. I'm not trolling, I promise. They scare me to the point I start shaking if I see one, and my heart races. Feel free to downvote me. It's nothing against them. It's my own problem. Story 4. Entomophobia, the fear of insects, is pretty common but genuinely annoying to deal with. I can't go outside, particularly in the summer and springtime, which is unfortunate because I love hot weather without being anxious about bugs. Sometimes I can't even feel safe in the house because, of course, they can come inside too. The most annoying part, though, has to be other people's reactions. If I have to hear one more person tell me that insects can't hurt me, I think I'll go crazy. Story 5. Fear of no exits, even for a short time. Elevators, traffic jams, planes, long lines I have to stand in, and so on. Obviously, I manage the fear, but it's never easy. Story 6. Agoraphobia. Sometimes it's hard for me to leave the house. I'm not afraid of anything in particular that might happen, but once I walk out that door, I am in a constant state of panic. On high alert, always in fight or flight mode. It's horrible. It makes having a social life and career next to impossible. I haven't been able to get a job in over a year. I am running out of savings and not sure what to do. Story 7. Astrophobia developed years after I was way too close to a direct lightning strike for comfort. It is unfortunate because I still absolutely love a good thunderstorm, just from indoors. Unfortunately, it affects my ability to do outdoor activities a lot because even a chance of lightning sends me into a panic. Story 8. I am coulrophobic, and I'm not being cute. I have had panic attacks when people have tried to test it. Also, I am not so fond of things like Santa or mascots. Story 9. Sharks, specifically great whites, cause me intense fear. As a kid, I couldn't even think of them in the shower or bath, or else I'd have to get out and calm down. I'm 27, and I can't close my eyes for too long in the shower, or else I see the outline of one swimming towards me. I used to have nightmares and wake up with horrible anxiety, kicking the covers off me immediately because I think they're swimming under the covers. If I see a picture or video of them, my heart starts racing, and I feel like they're after me. I'm convinced I must have had a bad interaction with them in a past life or something. I feel like I was born already scared of them. Story 10. Claustrophobia, and every time I put my car in reverse, I have an intense fear that I will back over someone. This started when I almost backed over someone. Story 11. I have this fear when parking, that if I park too close or obstruct their angle too much, that they will sideswipe me. If I see someone park at a bad angle, I avoid them like the plague. Story 12. My mother says that she thinks I suffer from slight agoraphobia. I do not really enjoy leaving the house and going out anywhere. I am only really comfortable at home in my own environment. I have gotten more and more antisocial over time. Story 13. I don't know what it's called. A form of claustrophobia? I'm fine with tight spaces, but anything enclosing my head so I can't touch my face makes me have a panic attack. I learned this the first time I went on a go-kart and they put a helmet on me. Story 14. Submechanophobia. Fear of sunken machines, more specifically sunken boats. I am well over 6 feet tall and a 250-plus pound man in my late 20s, and it makes me want to leave the room when a video comes on. It makes my skin crawl. Videos of the Titanic or sunken battleships give me goosebumps. I hate thinking about it. I've talked about it enough with my friends to where I think I have pinpointed the start of the trauma. The scene in Pearl Harbor where the sailors are trapped in the sinking Arizona, as well as walking to the shore as a child after a boat ride and stepping on a sunken boat and slicing my foot. I grew up near Lake Michigan, which has sunken boats everywhere, all black and slimy under the water. I remember refusing to get out of the boat to snorkel around a sunken boat in the Bahamas. I can't think of anything scarier than seeing the Titanic from one of those submarines. That would truly be my biggest fear. Forget that. Story 15. Heights and spiders. I have gotten better with spiders and have even let small ones walk on my arm. It may sound weird, but I started talking to them and give them names. Story 16. Omphalophobia, the fear of belly buttons. Mostly, I am unaffected by this unless someone starts talking about them or pointing them out. I would rather die than touch one. Writing about it now makes me physically nauseous. Story 17. I don't know the name, but I was cleaning the aquarium one time and the fish touched me, and I literally cried. I am terrified of cleaning it now. I have always been so scared of whales and dolphins, far worse than sharks. I don't know, they are so creepy. Story 18. I am terrified of crowds. I immediately have an anxiety attack. If a metro train is packed, it is impossible for me to get in. I avoid concerts or parties where there are too many people. Living in India is a nightmare for me when I see the waves of humans in the streets. Story 19. Seidenglaperson is a fear of cotton balls. I loathe and despise the sound and the feel of it. I will literally run away if I have to get away. I'm not playing, I'm out. Story 20. Pregnancy. I live in constant fear of the possibility, no matter how careful I am. I have a literal protocol for that possible case scenario, and it's quite bleak. I would rather die. I wouldn't be able to survive without my psychiatric medication, and I feel like a monster because so many people dream of something that, to me, is nightmare fuel. I wish they had that chance instead of me. Story 21. I'm afraid that now the Republican Party controls all three branches of the United States government. They will push their agenda through, and no one can stop them. I'm afraid that women's rights will go backward. I'm afraid that A Handmaid's Tale is a prophecy and not fiction. I'm afraid. Story 22. Visible moles on other people, especially facial ones, make me feel uneasy on the subconscious level. It goes away if I hang out with a person who has them long enough. Can take months at times. Story 23. Death, which leads to me having a fear of a lot of things. The main two are natural disasters, drowning, and airplanes. Not scared of heights, though. Story 24. Agoraphobia. Fear of being out in public and that you won't be able to escape a situation or be able to get help if you need it. I'm a textbook agoraphobe. Story 25. Not sure this is a phobia, but I have a fear of driving in high water. Even when other cars are making it through, I am very afraid to try it and will usually pull over and wait for it to go down. Story 26. I don't know what this is, but I have a fear of big objects over my head or suspended somehow, like a big flag, a sheet hanging on a clothesline, a curtain blowing around in the wind, or maybe a giant tapestry hung on the wall. Story 27. No clue what it is called or if it's real, but low heights terrify me. I will hike up a mountain and look over the edge, but I will not sit on a porch swing. I will not go in a room with slanted walls. I will not go upstairs and walk across a landing, or I will be stuck and cannot go back down. I am also claustrophobic. Story 28. I have this fear of being in a body of water with large items below or around me. It's very strange. I went snorkeling once at a shipwreck. I couldn't even enjoy it. 2 minutes later, I crawled up to the boat and enjoyed the beach and ocean view while everyone else snorkeled. Story 29. It's dumb and doesn't affect my life, so I'm glad, but potato eyes. I will run down the road if someone tries to put one on me. I have run a block down the road and didn't look back. Story 30. I feel strange about this but being perceived. I have Instagram to keep up with friends, and I do post pictures of myself, but I constantly archive and unarchive them because I'll randomly think, oh no, people can see what I'm up to. And I like being low-key and mysterious. However, I can't be when I'm posting authentically, which I do anyway because I hate that social media is so fake. Feel free to comment on your opinion about how I think because I know something is wrong with me, but I don't know how to get over it. Story 31. I have a fear of things falling on top of me. Driving through tunnels and under bridges has me white-knuckling and hyperventilating the whole way. It's mostly just in cars for some reason, but I also really hate strong winds for the same reason, that something might get blown over and fall on me. Story 32. Tocophobia. Although I have not been diagnosed and it is not in an extreme form, I have a real revulsion and avoid looking at pregnant women, especially bare bellies. It is another reason why I chose not to have children. I do not know why I feel like it, but I have always felt that way. Story 33. Birds, when their wings flap in my face, make me feel like I'm going to vomit, cry, or have a panic attack. I got swooped repeatedly for what felt like an hour but was probably only a couple of minutes by a magpie recently, and all the fear and discomfort are still there. Story 34. Not really a phobia, but I'm terrified by the heat death of the universe. The fact that one day there will be nothing left in the universe. Sure, humans can increase our existence by moving from Earth, but one day the last stars will die, and there will be nothing left, just black holes and brown dwarfs, which will also die at some point, and it will be eternal darkness. This is just a theory, but it is so petrifying to me, and don't mention the fear of outer space. I know about it, this isn't it. Story 35. It's interesting to me that about half the comments don't refer to actually having a phobia. Being uncomfortable or jumpy around bugs isn't a phobia. Phobia is way more intense and genuinely disrupts your life. Not surprised, but I am glad hundreds of commenters can't relate to that level of fear. Story 36. Bugs. One time a horsefly landed on my head, and I passed out after having the scare of my life. I see videos of Japanese giant hornets online, and they make my breathing heavy and palms sweaty. That one SpongeBob episode traumatized me from butterflies. Also, bugs are so incredibly nosy. You have the whole world to be in, yet you're in my face. Story 37. I wanted to answer this. However, I realize now that I don't have an easy to immediately say fear, and that's probably scarier than knowing exactly what you're afraid of. Because what if this whole time I'm afraid of snakes or something without knowing, and then I am faced with a snake? Story 38. I don't know what the term for it is, but I suffer from a phobia of expired or contaminated food or liquids. I don't have any sort of paranoia condition before anyone asks. I had an eating disorder as a child. I guess this is its evolved form. Story 39. Probably a fear of bad breath. I'm not sure if it's a real phobia, but it does affect my life. I'm afraid to talk to people because of it. I always assume that people are disgusted while talking to me and I focus on it intensely. I come off as quiet at work because I don't want to subject anyone to it. The thing is, I've never had anyone except for a few instances say that my breath is a problem. I mostly remember a couple of childhood instances when I was probably dehydrated. But I can't get over it. My husband tells me he has never noticed my breath being bad, but I just assume he's being nice. I have impeccable oral hygiene because of my paranoia. I travel with my water pick and tried to see my dentist earlier than 6 months, but they said it was unnecessary. So yeah, that. Story 40. I have a phobia of mushrooms growing in the wild. It disgusts me so profoundly to see them on a stump when I am out hiking and makes my whole body shudder. Story 41. A common fear many don't seem to realize is a fear of being accused of having a phobia. Just because someone disagrees with something, it does not make it a phobia. Story 42. Emetophobia. I get panic attacks at the sound of someone being sick or dry heaving. I feel nauseated by proxy and will instantly become paranoid that they have something contagious like norovirus. Every time I think, surely I've grown and can deal with it now, something triggers it and I pretty much have to run or hide somewhere where I can't see any evidence of or hear the person getting sick. It's paralyzing. Story 43. Claustrophobia is the fear of being trapped. This is different from claustrophobia, as it is not about the size of the space. I have had panic attacks when I was in the middle of 5 seats on a plane, and in a massive exhibit that was packed with people when I was a kid. I just remember my mom having to drag me out a side door. Once, I got stuck in an elevator and had a panic attack. Started working quickly, luckily. It took some effort to get in an elevator again, but I could not avoid it as my job requires using them. Story 44. I have a terrible fear of snails. I think about them daily, and seeing images makes me feel like they are crawling all over me. I will literally start crying if I see one. Story 45. Needles. Not the tattoo kind, the injection kind, the shot kind, the kind that makes me wonder how it doesn't go through my whole arm. I really hate needles. I want to puke just thinking about seeing one. Story 46. Social phobia. I fear daily things such as going to the hairdresser, going to the supermarket, and picking up the delivery as I have to meet and talk to strangers. Even walking on the streets makes me feel uncomfortable. Story 47. Thunderstorms. I can get through them, but if I have the option and freedom of being at home with nowhere to go, I'll shut my blinds and put headphones in until it's over. Story 48. Heights. I spent years as a glacier being called a coward because I would freeze if I got more than 10 feet off of the ground. My girlfriend and I went to Las Vegas for our anniversary a couple of years ago. She wanted to ride the high roller Ferris wheel. I did everything I could to be okay with it. Ate an edible, did shots, drank beers. Those usually make me okay with being up high. I sat on the bench in our pod and froze until it started heading down. Story 49. Trypanophobia is the fear of needles. Just knowing how they feel piercing into the skin, and the things they are associated with, such as medical settings, sends me into a panic attack almost every time I go to the doctor and they need to use one for whatever reason. Surprisingly enough, I have several piercings and want multiple tattoos. I think it's needles in a medical setting that trigger it.